going forward, the march towards freedom and justice is irreversible. I have spoken about freedom in my lifetime. Your struggle, your commitment, and your discipline has released me to stand before you today.
And that was 23 years ago. Remembering an icon today, a man who changed the nation. A live look now, Johannesburg, South Africa, where people are gathering at the home of Nelson Mandela, the man who led the fight against apartheid and racial injustice, dying at the age of 95. What a man. I'm Bill Hemmer, and welcome to a Friday edition here of America's Newsroom.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Bill. I'm Martha McCallum. So a remarkable man and a remarkable life that he led. President Obama here at home has now ordered flags at the White House to be lowered in tribute. Nelson Mandela could have been bitter after spending 27 years in prison under some of the worst conditions imaginable. But instead of revenge, when he was released, he sought reconciliation. He became South Africa's first democratically elected and first black president, and he forged a legacy of forgiveness and unity.
We just learned a few moments ago that Mandela's national funeral will take place December 15th, 9 days from now. And Greg Palcott leading our coverage now. And Greg, you were in South Africa about 6 months ago. How are people reacting there?
Yeah, that's right, Bill. We were there outside the Pretoria Hospital where Nelson Mandela lay gravely ill just a couple of months ago. We saw the emotion, the outpouring. I can tell you the scenes we're looking at now from South Africa is just the beginning. It is just going to continue. Crowds are gathering outside of the Johannesburg house where Mandela spent those last very troubling weeks and months. They are marking the passing of the person they consider the father of their country. They're mourning, but they're also celebrating the man. His body was taken overnight to a nearby morgue in preparation for that week-long mourning period, starting with a national day of prayer this coming Sunday, and as you noted, ending with his burial in the following Sunday in his home village. Probably no stronger tribute we have heard today than from the one-time nemesis of Mandela, F.W. de Klerk. He was the last president of South Africa under the hated apartheid system, but he's also the one who freed him from prison and worked together with him to get rid of it. Take a listen to what he said.
He was a great man. He was a very special man. I think his greatest legacy to South Africa and to the world is the emphasis which he has always put on the need for reconciliation, on the importance of human rights.
In 1993, the two of them won jointly the Nobel Peace Prize. A year later, Mandela would become the first black president of South Africa, Bill.
And they've been getting ready for this moment for a long time in that country. More details on that in a second here. But the reaction from around the world is quite remarkable in the amount of respect and honor they give him.
It's incredible, Bill. Not just a hero to South Africa, Nelson Mandela was a symbol of freedom to the entire world, the entire global community. And he's been recognized around the world. Flags flying at half-mast at the European Union headquarters in Brussels. Leaders from Paris to Moscow to Beijing expressing their sympathies, their gratitude. We heard from former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan. He called the loss of Mandela a loss for the world, of a visionary leader, a man for justice. Here's a little bit of what UK Prime Minister David Cameron had to say.
One of the brightest lights of our world has gone out. Nelson Mandela was not just a hero of our time, but a hero of all time.
Now, in a strange twist, news of the death of Mandela last night broke during the UK premiere of his biographical movie, A Long Walk to Freedom. The Mandela's passing was announced at the end of the film, we are told, to gasps, even to screams in the audience. In attendance, some members of Mandela's family, as well as the royal family. The Vatican also marking this today, Bill. Pope Francis calling Nelson Mandela's promotion of human dignity, against violence, for truth, absolutely monumental. Everybody, religious figures, leaders, rock stars, models, you name it, all coming out and expressing their condolences and their love for the man. Back to you.
A lot of people have been waiting for this moment, but the reality when it happens is still a different thing. Greg Palcott, looking forward to your coverage in Johannesburg real soon. Thank you, Greg. Martha.
Well, President Obama also reacting to the loss of the former leader whom he says inspired him a great deal. The president speaking about Mandela's spirit and legacy shortly after the word of his passing.
We've lost one of the most influential, courageous, and profoundly good human beings that any of us will share time with on this earth. He no longer belongs to us. He belongs to the ages. Through his fierce dignity and unbending will to sacrifice his own freedom for the freedom of others, Madiba transformed South Africa and moved all of us.
That from the White House yesterday. Meanwhile, President George Bush, 41, was at the White House when Mandela was finally released from prison in 1990. Released this statement yesterday, quote, "As president, I watched in wonder as Nelson Mandela had the remarkable capacity to forgive jailers following 26 years of wrongful imprisonment, setting a powerful example of redemption and grace for us all. He was a man of tremendous moral courage who changed the course of history in his country," end quote.
President Clinton, who watched apartheid end and Mandela become president, said this, quote, "History will remember Nelson Mandela as a champion for human dignity and freedom, for peace and reconciliation. We will remember him as a man of uncommon grace and compassion, for whom abandoning bitterness and embracing adversaries was not just a political strategy, but a way of life."
As we mentioned a moment ago, the plans for the memorial service and the funeral, they've been underway for quite some time. This will be a massive undertaking, some describing the planning as dealing with the opening and closing of the World Cup, an inauguration, a coronation, all combined. There will be tens of thousands at the first public memorial event that's set for Tuesday at the soccer stadium in Soweto. Mandela made his last public appearance there at the World Cup final in 2010. Mandela's body will then lie in state for 3 days in Pretoria. Then he will be buried on the grounds of his childhood home in South Africa.
We're going to have more on the amazing life of Nelson Mandela. Fox News political analyst Juan Williams will be joining us moments from now. He was in South Africa in 1990 as a reporter when Mandela was released from prison and later developed a unique relationship with the man known as Madiba. He will tell us about that when he joins us. We're going to have a special talk with him in just a few minutes.
Watching all the coverage throughout the afternoon and into the evening hours last night, again this morning, the thing that strikes me is the level of forgiveness that he has. Not just for the people who imprisoned him for 27 years, but for everybody, all of humankind. We remember him.
He invited some of his white jailers to his inauguration, and he constantly made that example, including what he did with the soccer team there. And it's fitting that that memorial process will begin in that soccer stadium, where a lot of people remember the movie Invictus, which memorialized that incredible event where he said, no, we're going to keep the name of this team. Blacks and whites together are going to support this team and cheer them on to a championship. And it's really indicative of the spirit that he had throughout his life. Incredible story.